What was once a notion of the future is happening right now. Companies are utilizing technology more than ever, and the global impact of automation has been a big topic of this year's Davos Forum. A wide range of technologies could see robots doing work that people are currently paid to do. For more, I'm joined by Joseph Mariathasan, partner at Pangaea Finance Partners. He's also the contributing editor of Investments and Pensions Europe. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, there does seem to be this mixture of both excitement and caution when it comes to automation. So when it comes to this idea that it's automation that's killing jobs globally, how much truth is there to that?
Well, I think that what you've got to look at is we are moving into a post-industrial age in many countries, particularly the West, in the US and so on. And that, to a great extent, is being driven not only by outsourcing manufacturing, but also by automation. So there is a worry that how can you create decent paying jobs? You know, while the US has seen employment rise to a significant level now, it doesn't suffer from high unemployment. What it does suffer from is a lack of decent paying jobs. And so there is always a worry that automation is not going to help that process at all, the creation of better paying jobs for large numbers of both lower middle class and middle class people as well as working people.
Now, you touched on the US, but which countries are actually the best prepared when it comes to this increased influx of automation?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer. I mean, if you look at the big manufacturing countries, obviously US leads, but China probably provides 25% of the world's manufacturing capacity. And the problem for China is that it has two deep issues. One is that its population is aging, so the number of workers it's got is declining. I think it declined by something like 5 million last year. And the second issue, of course, is that wage rates are rising. So I believe there's a survey in the American Chamber of Commerce in Beijing where 25% of the respondents said they're thinking of moving facilities out of China. So for China to preserve its manufacturing capabilities, it needs automation, it needs robotics, it needs a way of creating innovation to be able to maintain its manufacturing capabilities.
So then
China's probably the most ambitious.
So then with that being said, which countries and perhaps industries do you think are the least prepared for this shift to automation?
Well, it's probably it's very difficult to say which countries are least prepared because so many countries are badly prepared. If you look at the leading countries in robotics, for example, it's the US, China, Korea, Japan. They're very much the leaders in that. Other countries are way behind. Industries, the old heavy industries, manufacturing industries, steel and so on, are probably difficult to automate. But if you look at other industries like autos, they've been very successful. So it's very variable across the whole range. And obviously, we're still in a state of transition. You know, China is busy trying to acquire a lot of skills and expertise in automation. Some major acquisitions quite recently, over the last year, for example.
Now, let's also look at the World Economic Forum's Global Risks Report. They're actually saying that underemployment and unemployment are the biggest risk to the global economy. How do you think automation is going to fit into that assessment?
Well, that's a very good question to ask. And the problem is that it's not clear what the answer is going to be, apart from actually creating new jobs that are outside the traditional manufacturing jobs. And the problem there is what I was referring to earlier, that if you look at the so-called service industry, you know, the whole idea is that the post-industrial age in the US and developed markets is essentially a service-driven economy, and that's what China is ostensibly moving to. But if you look at Apple, for example, Apple is the most valuable company in the world, but in the US it only employs probably 80,000 people. General Motors, at its height in 1979, employed 300,000 people. So the dilemma for everyone is that moving away from manufacturing in terms of employment means great automation, but it means finding decent paying jobs for large numbers of people. It's not clear what the answer there actually is.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your insights. Joseph Mariathasan from Pangaea Finance Partners.